Now let's talk about top-down positive expected value betting. Top-down betting is essentially using information from certain sports books and applying that information to bet on other sports books. I know it's a little confusing at first, but you'll understand in a second. The reason that top-down plus EV betting is possible is because there are two different sportsbook models. The first model is the sharp book model, which is used by books like Pinnacle, Circa Sports, Bookmaker, and some others. These books have very high limits, meaning they let you bet a lot of money. They do not limit winning bettors, so winning bettors are welcome to keep betting at these sports books. And they use the information from these winning bettors and all the bettors they have to shape their prices and lines and change the different odds they're offering on different things. The soft books like DraftKings, FanDuel, MGM, Caesars, Bet365, these books typically limit winning bettors, sometimes to pennies, which means that winning bettors aren't betting on their platform. So they're not getting the same kind of information that these sharp books are getting from winning bettors. Because of this, the sharp books prices are often much more accurate. For example, if Pinnacle has someone that they've classified as a winning bettor, a sharp bettor, and he bets on the Guardians minus 111, Pinnacle will take that information. They could change how much they move it depending on how much the person bet, but they'll change their price from Guardians minus 111 to something like Guardians minus 120 because this guy who they consider a smart bettor just bet on the Guardians to win, which means that he thinks their price is too good for the Guardians. So they'll move it because of that. Since that's happening, the sharp books are constantly using this information to change their prices. So the sharp books prices are a better representation of what is probably going to happen. So let's use the Reds versus Guardians as an example. Pinnacle has the Guardians at minus 111 and the Reds at plus 100, which means that the true probability is somewhere between those numbers. Because if the true odds for the Guardians to win was something like minus 120, then a sharp, smart bettor would be betting into this minus 111. On the other hand, if the true odds for the Reds to win was like minus 110, then a sharp bettor would be betting the Reds to win at plus 100 because they're going to make money in the long term, right? So we can check the EV here. The EV, if the true odds are minus 110 and you're betting it at 100, you're getting about 5% of positive expected value. But that's not happening because Pinnacle probably has the correct odds. So since there's 11 cents of spread here, we can be fairly sure that the true price is somewhere in between. And because of this, people have figured out how to remove the vig or de-vig these sharp books odds. The easiest way to remove the vig is by converting the odds to implied probabilities. Here's an example, right? We have team A if they're plus 120 to win, and then team B is minus 140. The implied probabilities for these odds, for 120, it's a 45.45% chance to win, and minus 140 is a 58.33% chance to win. But obviously, these two probabilities add up to more than 100%, which is not possible because, right, you can't have something happen more than 100% of the time. So what you want to do essentially is to fit these probabilities into 100%. So the way to do that is you just divide whatever the implied probability is for that team by the total implied probabilities. So this is what we do here. C3, 45.45% over C3 plus D3. So over 103.78%. And we get 43.79. And then on this side, 56.21%. So they add up to 100% now. So that's de-vigged. There's no vig there. They add up to exactly 100%. So then you could use these probabilities as the way to figure out if you want to bet on something else, right? So let's say this is a sharp book, has 120, 140, and then let's say you have another book at 130, then you could type in 120, 140, 130. You see you have a 0.17% expected value, and you're probably just going to hold off, right? Because there's no real reason to bet that. But there are multiple different de-vigging methods. The one that I'm showing you here in Google Sheets is the most straightforward, probably least accurate way. It's just the multiplicative method, and you're literally just fitting these percentages into 100%. The reason that this is not the best method is that it doesn't take any long shot bias into account. Long shot bias is a way to include the book's biases in their pricing in your de-vigging methods. For example, books tend to add more juice to the long shot odds than they do to favorite odds. But I'll touch on this more in another episode.